What is going on, everybody? It's the Reformation Keegan, and I'm here with a new analysis from an English major's perspective. So, I haven't been able to do one of these in a bit because my university schedule has been really hefty, but I have managed to squeeze in a reading and an analysis. So, I'm really happy to be doing these again because I really, really enjoy reading comics just for entertainment, but I also really like reading them as multimodal works of literature. So today we have The Great Hulk Gray by the legendary team of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Jeff Loeb's one of my favorite writers ever in comics history, and Tim Sale is also one of my favorite artists. So the colored arcs are incredible. I love all of them. I love Spider-Man Blue, I love Daredevil Yellow, I love Captain America White, and now I love Hulk Gray. I actually think that Hulk Gray may be my favorite of the bunch, which is saying a lot. Because initially my favorite was Spider-Man Blue, but I think Hulk Gray may take the cake. I'm going to try and explain this to in a way that doesn't sound patronizing because I have never been a Hulk fan. I never really understood the Hulk when I was younger, and you would think I would because the Hulk, in a lot of ways, is a simple character. But one thing I've learned as I've gotten a bit older is that the Hulk is not just a simple character. The Hulk is actually a very in depth character with a lot of constituents that I think a lot of people haven't really discovered. But I think Jeff Loeb has, and even Tim Sale has in his own art. So, one of the things we have to remember is that comics are a multimodal process, and the phraseology of the writer is not the only thing communicating the story. We also have to look at the art, we have to look at the facial expressions within the art, and we need to look at the setting of the art. So you have to know both. And what I think Hulk Gray does is it encapsulates both at a really, really high level. One of the things that I think works well and works best is Jeff Loeb's ability to communicate pathos, which is a rhetorical tactic used to emotionally influence the reader or influence the listener if we are listening to a speech. So, one of the things that I really, really love about this is that use of pathos through a dual identity. So, obviously, we know that Bruce Banner is the Hulk. Not everybody in the story knows this, but the Hulk to me isn't the disguise. I really think this is almost like a Clark Kent esque deal where you have Clark Kent really being the disguise and Superman being the real individual. For me, the Hulk comes across as the real individual and Bruce is the disguise because a lot of this is told from Hulk's point of view. Even though we have Bruce narrating through a form of therapy, this is really Hulk's feelings. And Hulk hates Banner because Bruce guilts himself for the Gamma Bomb. And the Gamma Bomb creates the Hulk. And one of the things that I really found intriguing with this story was Bruce's self-loathing. And you can see this when he's narrating, but you can also see it through Hulk. So Hulk is a simple creature, but a creature that's also very complex, hence making him a hermeneutic irritant throughout the eyes of literature and a paradox. And Bruce blames himself for this Gamma Bomb, but Bruce isn't really an individual who, let's say, wants to be left alone. Instead, Hulk wants to be left alone. So Hulk, being the physical adaptation of the anger of Bruce Banner, wants to be left alone, which is a very, very human trait, actually. And this is very relatable. So the Hulk in this is a very relatable character because you have Thaddeus Ross, who's the main villain, that Hulk absolutely hates more than anybody. And Hulk hates Thaddeus Ross more than Bruce Banner, which is very intriguing because Bruce hates himself as much as he hates Thaddeus Ross, or as much as the Hulk hates Thaddeus Ross. Thaddeus Ross obviously is the main villain, comes across as the main villain, and that's pretty obvious. But Thaddeus Ross believes that Bruce was killed by the Hulk, which is intriguing because Hulk, in this instance, he feels undesirable, especially in issue 1. And he goes from being undesirable to being the object within the story that makes him the one that is desirable. And if you look too at Hulk Gray 3 and 4, there's themes of romantic ambition, systematic control from Ross, which obviously labels him as the villain. Anytime you have somebody that's addicted to systematic control and wanting to operate all reality, you immediately make them a villain in the form of literature for the most part. And there's personal and self-protection from Hulk. So Hulk is bent on protecting Betty, even though he hurts Betty. And this is a really good juxtaposition between the careless monster and the intelligent monster, because Hulk operates as both. Hulk is physically careless, but mindfully he's very intelligent. Granted, his vocabulary is very limited. Hulk has a process to all the actions that he does. So Hulk wants to take care of Betty, and when she's cold, he goes and basically gets a fire from the lightning. He knows enough of human knowledge from the past, whether it was through Neanderthals or through the first Homo sapiens or through Cro-Magnon, that he is able to use the elements of the earth to his disposal to help protect an individual that he really cares about. So almost like a Neanderthal, where there's a lot of misinterpretations, Neanderthals were able to think logically, they were able to communicate logically, they were able to laugh, they were able to feel all the human emotions that we have. And Hulk in this story is portrayed as something like a Neanderthal, where he has a limited vocabulary, like I said previously, but he's able to visually and audibly communicate the way that he's feeling throughout those limitations. So what Jeff Loeb does here is he uses constrained writing to his advantage. And constrained writing is, in my opinion, a comic writer's best friend, because a lot of times you'll have comic writers who are very talented, but they oversimplify and they overwrite. And what happens here is you are holding the hand of the reader too much. And this can, one, annoy the reader, because the reader wants to find out these events themselves. And two, the reader doesn't want to know all of the events, because then you take away the healthy debate over theory. So one of the best things about comics, and especially in Hulk Gray, is the story is so simple that it allows me to make videos like this to theorize what Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale are communicating through the multimodal process of putting together and compartmentalizing the books and the issues for Hulk Gray. So the themes too of grief are really, really strong. So, Leonard also mentions the 5 stages of grief when he speaks to Bruce about Betty and how maybe she's going through that, because Betty thinks that Bruce is dead, but doesn't really know, at least doesn't mention it, that the Hulk is Bruce Banner and vice versa. So this issue, specifically issue 5, shows Hulk's cognitive capabilities. He's not inadequate. He's not stupid. So if you look at a lot of these images too, and it's not just through Jeff Loeb's prose, but if you look at a lot of these images provided, Hulk is very, very intelligent when it comes to communicating how he's feeling through emotion. So you can see here at the start of issue 5, where he's taking Betty and he goes, "Hulk, fix Betty." So simple, yet so effective. And then let's see if I can find another one. So even too, when he accidentally hurts Betty, he'll say, "Hulk, sorry." So I think this is the actual way that Bruce Banner wishes that he could communicate, because I think there's a paradox here where someone, albeit a doctor or a scholar of any other equivalent, they are too intelligent for their own good. And sometimes when you're too intelligent, you're actually disguising how you truly feel. And I think what the Hulk operates as is not just a symbol, but he operates as a pseudonym of Bruce Banner, and how Bruce Banner, at his simplest, within his core of his being as a subject, wants to communicate. Because when you are more intelligent, you put yourself at a higher pedestal from a hierarchical point of view. But when you can strip a human down to their simplest form as a subject of the earth, they can actually communicate their feelings a lot more without the fear of judgment or the fear of regret or the fear of being overtaken by someone like Thaddeus Ross. So the human versus monster dynamic, just it works extremely well in Hulk Gray, and this is actually one of my favorite comics ever from Marvel. And granted, I haven't read as much Marvel as I should have. I primarily read DC, but I am reading more Marvel as we speak, and I really enjoyed the message that this was telling. And like I said, it's probably my favorite of the colored arcs. And the anecdotal form between Leonard and Bruce, that works very well too, because you get to get in Bruce's mind along with being in the Hulk's mind at the same time, hence exhibiting duality. So let me know what you think. So this is just a premise of what else I could do for an analysis, but I would love to do more of these, and I want to keep doing more of these. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe as well, because we're really close to 500 subscribers, and I would eventually like to reach 1,000. That's a really big goal of mine. And I also really, really want to reach 3,000 watch hours so I can become a YouTube partner and I can put out better and more content for you going forward. If you have any requests, let me know. I'll try to do another one of these as soon as I can, with considering time. But I also am going to keep posting a lot of shorts as well because I still have some pickups I have to get through. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep reading and keep analyzing, and hopefully you keep analyzing too, because if we're not analyzing, we're not expanding our minds anymore. So see you soon.